Hello everyone and welcome back to Science Fiction Station, a video series where I read to you a chapter at a time from this book, Il Noblet Elmer and the Alien Water Thieves by myself, Catherine Rose Newey, and there are matching worksheets with activities to go with every video which your parents and carers can download from my website catherinerosenewey.com. They simply have to sign up there and they'll get access to all the worksheets and the Science Fiction Station worksheets. Okay, so today's worksheets for chapter 8 look like this. So before I read from the book, let's have a look at today's worksheets. So worksheet part A, which has activity 1 on it, says in this chapter, Il Noblet discovers something the Mutylokygophiles don't seem to like. Listen to the author reading the chapter, that's me, I'll be doing that in a second, and write down the special words he uses here. Can you identify any more of these special words in Il Noblet's poem about seasons and write them here? So there's space over there on the worksheet. And then there's some cool facts about palindromes. Did you know there are palindrome names like Hannah and Bob, and palindrome sentences too, like was it a car or a cat I saw? And you can find more examples and some other cool things about palindromes on the 2 website links that I've included there. Then you're going to write a mini story using palindrome words, names, phrases, or even sentences. Not everything has to be a palindrome, but see how many you can squeeze in. Your story will probably be silly and funny, that's okay. Challenge yourself to keep going with as many lines as possible, and there's space at the bottom of the worksheet for you to do that. You can turn over or do it on another piece of paper if you need to, if your story's that long. Okay, I'll explain worksheet part B after I've finished reading the chapter for today. Chapter 8, Symmetrical Weapons in the Morning. I woke up really early, determined to get to the shed before anyone else did. Luckily, my dad hadn't mentioned any unusual creatures or liquid mess last night, so I knew he hadn't been to the shed in the last few days. But today was Saturday, so he might need it. I grabbed my backpack and tiptoed downstairs, past my brother and sister still fast asleep in their own rooms, past my mum and dad's room where someone was snoring loudly, and out the back. Outside it was only just getting light, and there was an eerie, low-lying mist all over the garden, so it was difficult to see more than a short distance in front of me. Dew and water drops made everything seem sparkly. Patio and grass were slightly wet and slippery. The shed door creaked a little as I opened it really carefully. I stopped halfway to check if anything or anyone was reacting to the creak, but all was quiet. I slipped inside. My heart was already beating fast as my eyes adjusted to the slight darkness of the shed. I noticed a sticky congealed liquid patch on the floor which seemed to be bubbly in places. That must have been where the quababbled snortler had been. No sign of it now, though. I looked around and saw some blobs of see-through yellowish goo which seemed to have been exploded outwards and had landed on various items in the shed. The watering can spout was covered in it. There were splotches of various sizes and shapes on one wall, and the window half curdled, and some was dripping down the side of an old can of paint. There was a smell of something sweet, the smell of something that seemed familiar to me, but I couldn't remember what it was. I took out my torch and shone it into the dusty corners of the shed, looking for the Tammy creature. I gradually became aware of a very soft gurgling sound, which stopped and started every few seconds, like quiet, high-pitched snoring. I moved around as silently as I could, shining my torch into all the containers and objects and turning each one over slowly. In the far corner was an upside-down cardboard box. The gentle snoring sounds seemed to be coming from there. I switched my torch off. I remembered that the Tammy creature hadn't seemed to have very good hearing, so I didn't want to give it a fright. I reached out really slowly and lifted one side of the cardboard box just a little, then dropped it in a fright. I had seen smooth, tightly stretched purple skin. There was only one creature in the universe with skin like that, a Mutylokygography. My mind was racing now with all sorts of questions. Where was Tammy, the striped rodent-like creature who had fought with a multi-lurched quababbled Snortler and had seemed to be winning last time I'd looked? And why would a Mutylokygography be sleeping in my shed? And where was the Snortler now? The creature under the box appeared to be waking up. Its light snoring turned to low grunting, and then I heard what sounded like claws scraping on the wooden floor, and lots of swallowing, lip-smacking, snorting, and louder grunting, and the box started moving. I'd better be ready. If this was a Mutylokygography, I would need all my strength and wits about me. Next thing, the box flew up in the air as the creature suddenly heaved itself up and stood up facing me with sharp, glinting eyes. I got a huge fright, but stood my ground. In front of me was a strange sight. Even for me, it was something I'd not seen before. The creature, only about as high as my knees, stood awkwardly, with its huge hips sticking out. It shifted slightly from one curled-over clawed foot to another. We stared at each other. It definitely had some features of Mutylokygographies. The smooth lavender-coloured skin stretched tightly over its oversized back legs, so you could see some bones or veins through it, and a really sweet baby-like face. But as it turned its head ever so slightly, as if to look at me more closely with one eye, I saw it had large ears which were neatly folded back. Not like the usual really small Mutylokygography's ears I'd seen before. It waddled a step closer to me. Although small, Mutylokygographies are powerful and can catch you off guard. Just in case, I scient-powered up my Lumi vision, and the inside of the shed was suddenly lit up with a yellowish-green haze. The creature started wheezing and clicking. That's a sign that they want to attack and assimilate what's in front of them. As it stepped forward, I noticed its belly seemed to be more see-through than the rest of it, and I was sure I saw it wobble slightly, like jelly. My breathing was really fast and loud now. I wondered if the creature could tell I was afraid. I hoped not. I really needed to figure out something, and quickly, or I would be nothing more than a pile of bones and blood on the floor soon. Something popped in my head. "You're a redivider," I said. I don't know why I said that. I don't even know where I got the idea to say that. In fact, I'm not even sure I said it out aloud. But it had an amazing effect on the Mutylokygography. He sort of stumbled like he tripped and started shaking. His belly was really quivering and vibrating now, and as I watched it in fascination, I suddenly realized he must have assimilated the amoeba-like quababbled Snortler. So that's where it had gone. And his large, neatly folded ears, they were just like the Tammy creature's ears. Oh no, he must have assimilated Tammy too. I pulled myself together. If I didn't do something right now, the creature would soon look a little like a Gapatonian Earthian from assimilating me too. I said it again, out aloud this time. "Redivider, you're a redivider." The genetically altered Snortler Tammy Mutylokygography stumbled, then sort of fell into itself. It was like it was being slowly sucked into itself like a mini black hole. This gave me time to think. Why did that word, redivider, seem to have this effect on him? And what did it mean? Was it something to do with how they assimilate other universals and take on some of their features? Like a lightning strike, I knew. Something in the back of my brain, some training, some scient infusion from long ago told me Mutylokygographies do not like symmetry or anything ordered. They can't deal with it. And redivider is a word that reads the same forwards as well as backwards. Then I remembered Miss Octothorpe had told us about these words a while ago. They're called palindromes. Words that are the same forwards and backwards like a mirror image. Symmetrical words. I needed more of these words in a hurry. If the mutilocardography was going to be stopped, I needed to use these words as weapons. I felt around in my backpack hurriedly. Did I have anything? Any printed papers or packaging with words on which could help? The mutilocardographer seemed to be recovering. He lifted his head slightly and glared at me with his little shiny eyes. My yellow-green lumivision made his purple body seem brown and blotchy in places. He started making wheezing and clicking and grunting sounds again. Then he shook his head, and his new large ears flapped about ferociously. I'd better be quick. My hand brushed against a piece of crumpled paper. I pulled it out and quickly scanned it. It was my season's poem I'd done for homework. Were there any of these words in there? I was in such a panic that I couldn't tell. So I started reading my poem out aloud. There was nothing else I could think of. Maybe the rhyming words, maybe just the words in a certain order would do something. Spring is here, we have no fear. Flowers everywhere. Baby animals are born, and we play out on the lawn. It's a new beginning, and I feel like singing. Summer is fun, in the noon sun. We play with a race car, and when we're done, I ask my mum if we can stay and play here forever. Autumn is gold, all the leaves are brown and old. The wind blows cold, winter is coming. We run in the street scattering leaves under our feet. Winter is white, with cold air like smoke. Oh, what a sight! No leaves on the old oak. We stay indoors and try to stay warm. Wow, it's dark and freezing. We eat food that's pleasing. I watched the mutilocardographer carefully as I read. It was only when I got to the second verse that it seemed to start having more of an effect on him. He stopped shaking his head and his ears wrapped around to the back. His body, shuddering and trembling, started buckling in again, as if he were becoming smaller. I closed my eyes for a second and tried to sum up some more palindromes. Kayak, I said loudly. Then I remembered some more. Redder, re-divider, I shouted. The creature shrank and became quite twisted and contorted. I don't think all of his biogeme was able to compress at the same rate, so his wobbly tummy stuck out and looked like it might burst at any second, and his large ears covered most of his tiny, imploding head. As his diminishing frame bubbled and gurgled and bulged and writhed in front of me, I read my poem out aloud for a second time, just to be sure. As I got to the last few lines and started reading "Wow, it's dark," he disappeared with a little pop and was gone. Just like that. I think he de-osmotized himself back to wherever he came from. I know mutilocardgographers are not that easy to get rid of, but at least for now, he was not in the garden shed. I sighed with relief. What a story it would be if I could tell it. I wished I could let my friends know what had happened in my shed this morning, but of course I couldn't tell anyone. It would freak them out, and anyway, they'd never believe it. So I picked up my backpack and folded up my poem neatly inside. Miss Octothorpe would never know how useful it had been to me. As I opened the kitchen door to go inside, my mum was already there, making breakfast for everyone. She looked up in surprise at me. "Ill, you gave me a fright. What were you doing out in the garden so early? Look at you, your shoes are all wet." She didn't sound too cross, so I slipped my shoes off and walked into the living room where my dad was. He was watching something on TV very intensely while waiting for breakfast. "Ill, come and see this. You like this kind of stuff," he said eagerly. I turned towards the TV, which had a nature program or something on. It was about lakes and droughts and stuff like that. As I watched, they showed a large lake somewhere in South America which had almost dried up, they said. I wasn't that interested. My dad didn't know we'd been doing this water cycle stuff at school for the past few days. But then suddenly there were Macharians on telly. I sat down too quickly and my dad looked at me sideways. "All right?" he asked. "Yep, I couldn't finish, so I concentrated on the screen. The presenter was saying something about a new animal species which had been discovered, and they showed someone's blurry photograph with 3 small furry creatures in the distance at the edge of the lake. They were Macharians. I'd know them anywhere. The presenter continued. These newly discovered animals, never seen or recorded before, seem to have a large capacity for water consumption. Scientists in the region are baffled as to how the creatures drink such large quantities or where they come from. None of the local people seem to know anything about them. My mind was reeling, but there wasn't much time during the weekend to think about it properly. We went shopping after breakfast, then my dad and I took Dylan to his football club. And on Sunday, my mum decided that Dylan and Shelley had to learn to swim, so we all went to the local swimming pool while they had their lessons. Then we had an early Sunday dinner. Okay, so did you catch all those words, all those palindrome words, and manage to write them down onto part A of the worksheet? Well, now you'll have a chance to write your mini story using as many palindrome words, sentences, names as you can. So have fun with that one. I'm going to talk about worksheet part B now, which is all about palindrome numbers. And there's a little bit of an exercise there. It says, think of any number with more than one digit. Say a two-digit number, for example, 29. Now add it to the reverse of that number. So 29 plus 92 adds up to 121. The answer is almost always a palindromic number. Try it with some other numbers. Check it out. See if you can find any where it doesn't end up as a palindromic number. There's also a website with some other cool facts about palindrome numbers here, an Enrich Maths website. And then activity 3, there is a little bit of a quiz with some clues for you to guess numbers. Some of them are palindromes, but not all of them. There is also a web link to that there as well. And then right on the bottom of the worksheet, there's 2 other little maths or palindrome number things for you to do, for you to try out. So have fun with that. I hope you've enjoyed today's reading and the worksheets. And if you'd like to send me any of the palindrome stories, I'd really like to see those. Ask your parents or carers to contact me via my website, catherinerosenewey.com, or reply to any of the email newsletters they received when they signed up for the worksheets. Don't forget to download your worksheets for next time for Chapter 9 from my website, catherinerosenewey.com. And I look forward to seeing you then. Okay, over and out. Bye.